Okay, so it looks like I believe I am live. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Okay, yeah, so it looks like I'm live. It also looks like I'm recording. Hello, Network for the Kingdom. I hope you guys are doing amazingly. I'm super excited for today. Let me just make sure I'm sharing with everyone. For those of you who are watching live, let me know where you're coming in from. If this is your first time, please let me know. If it's not your first time, then just say hi and welcome and let everyone know where you're coming from anyway, because one of the things I love about being online is that we have a global network of folks that are in shared values, right? We've been talking about values as well, but we have all shared values, being that we are kingdom folk and wanting to use our businesses to further the things of God. So I'm super excited for today. This class, if it's your first time, is Biblical Basics for Beginners in Business. I always say that's a mouthful of B's, but we do that on purpose because it's catchy, okay? So hopefully you won't forget it and you'll remember that we do this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. So I'm excited for today because we have been talking a lot about just things that have to do with value, having to do with integrity, and how do we apply these things in our business is so important because as business folks, we have one way that we see that the world tells us to do things, but we really want to be able to apply the biblical principles as we see them in the Bible to our business. And we believe that if we do that, that we're going to be able to truly grow in our not just our relationship with God and with those around us, but that we can prosper in everything that we're called to do. So we want to help you to discover those principles that can really be applied to your life and to your business. So today we're going to actually be talking about ethics. So last week we talked about integrity, honesty, right? And having those things be reflected in our businesses. So today we're going to talk about ethics. And we talk about ethics. Ethics really, are those moral principles that help to govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. So what guides us, right? Like what are the morals that we hold to be true? As we go through our lives, oftentimes if our morals are not rooted in the word of God, they're going to be rooted in something. And a lot of times they're rooted in past experiences. Where do we get our version of right and wrong? How do we know what's right and how do we know what's not right? And so not only do we see that in our personal lives, but we'll also see that in our business. And so this question about morality comes up, right? What is the right thing to do and what is not the right thing to do? Now, the Bible tries to make this super easy for us with the 10 commandments, right? And Jesus teaches us that all of this can be summed up in one word, which is love. Okay. If you love God and you love your neighbor, you're not going to lie to them. You're not going to have misplaced priorities, right? All of this stuff comes out of a position of understanding love and walking in love, right? We're not going to cheat our neighbor if we love them, right? So these things, keeping in mind. So there's a big distinction between what is right and what is not right. And oftentimes our morals are based on our values, right? What are those things that we hold to be principally true in our lives, in our businesses? And through understanding our morals, or understanding our values, we can also understand what happens when there's a violation of something that we value. So if we value honesty in our lives and in our relationships, then we're going to see that when something goes against our value, that we might have a response to that, right? A negative response. Or if we notice somebody shares our value, we might have a positive response to that. And so just a really simple way to look at morality is through the lenses of the 10 commandments. Okay. And so there's really three types of ethics that we can look at. Okay. Meta ethics, which basically helps us to look at, where are our moral values? This is really what the philosophers are most concerned with. It's how to think about ethics. What are the principles? What is the language? Where does all of that come from? What does it all mean? So if I say something is right versus something is wrong, what does that even mean, right? What is the meaning of good and bad? What is the meaning of right and wrong? So meta ethics is really, where you would get, if you're taking a class on business, your philosophy of business class is the meta ethics. And then you have applied ethics, which a lot of people, I think, and for our purposes, we can be a little more concerned with, which really is how to apply those philosophical tools in order to look at specific issues, right? Especially controversial issues. And what it does is provides a practical solution to those moral problems. So this is how we're now taking our principles and applying them and looking at what is right and wrong within context. So a good example of this is a baker. A lot of people may have heard of this. We're going to come back to this as a case study, but there was a baker who refused to make cake for a gay couple. Now, this is a Christian baker, and he refused to offer his services to a gay couple. And this was a big thing. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. So we're going to talk about that from an ethical standpoint. What was the argument on both sides, and then what kind of came as a result. Okay, so that would be an example of applied ethics. And I know that those of you, who are watching this, that are, Christians in business, essentially, thinking of that, you also know that there are going to be certain things that come from a position of ethics that you hold on to versus, what you might see as certain laws, protected class individuals. So certain things like that, which feel kind of at odds. So I'm going to touch on that today. And then you have normative ethics, which is basically investigates the moral standards that regulate right and wrong conduct. So this is where you have things that question the good and bad of an action. So a lot of times we think of moral absolutes. These are things that we believe like, hey, it's always wrong to lie. That's a moral absolute, no matter what the context is. But there's also examples of what is called greater responsibility. So is it okay, for example, to tell a lie if the if the result of not telling that lie would be somebody died, right? Like, or somebody was murdered. So where does your greater responsibility lie? Okay, does it lie in being honest in that situation, or does it lie in saving that person's life? So that's where the greater responsibility principle comes in. Whereas the moral absolutes is that, hey, no matter what, it's always wrong to lie. But with greater responsibility, it would be, okay, but in this specific case, right, that's where you're looking at normative ethics or situational ethics based on a certain situation. So I want to give you an example, thinking of that, of Masterpiece Cakes. So this was a very popular case that came up. It came up all the way to the Supreme Court level. Now, under federal anti-discrimination laws, businesses can technically refuse a service to any person for any reason. So as a business owner, you don't have to give a reason. You can deny service. You can deny, that's something within your right to do. Now, the only stipulation for this is if now I should actually preface this by saying I'm not a lawyer, I'm a researcher. So based on information and research, this is what I know, but this is not legal advice. Okay, I just want to put that little aside in there. But technically, unless a business is discriminating against a protected class. So in the case of Masterpiece Cakes, there was a gentleman who owned a cake shop who denied creating a cake for a gay couple. He did not feel that this was within his what he valued. He was more somebody who went for traditional marriages, and so he made the decision, to deny this couple to make their cake. Now, I've heard a couple, I'm gonna add something onto this in a moment, but in terms of legality, yes, you can deny business to anybody. You don't have to give a reason unless the business discriminates a protected class. Now, LGBTQ is considered a protected class of individuals, so that would go under discrimination laws. So at the national level, protected classes include race or color, national origin or citizenship status. Okay. I don't know if there is like a distinction between national level versus state level, but that's what it says here, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I do know that when this gentleman was taken to court in his state, he was charged and he had to pay a $500 fine in state court, okay, because this was considered a protected citizen class. Now, when Mr. Phillips took this situation to the constitutional, right, to the Supreme Court level, it was found that his cakes were considered artistic expression. And so it was actually under his First Amendment protection that he did not have to serve because it had to do with artistic expression. So Justice Thomas wrote and requiring him to endorse marriages at odds with his faith violated his constitutional right. So constitutionally, this has to do with the right to when it comes to his faith, his religion. So this was taken from the New York Times. So that's what was found at a constitutional level. Now, are the waters kind of muddy when it comes to these things, when it comes to certain legalities? Yes, the waters definitely get muddy. However, this is really important to understand when it comes to business ethics, when it comes to personal values as well, because for those of you, for example, maybe who are doing marriage coaching, if you believe in, the marriage between a man and a woman, then if somebody comes and, they want marriage counseling, but you don't do, for, let's say, like homosexual relationships, again, that is something that you'd have to understand the legalities behind those things. And then also understanding ethically, right? Like where do your values lie on an ethics basis? So that's going to be individual to you as a business owner, right? And that's going to be important. So I just want you guys to think about that and to navigate. You're going to have to navigate some of those things. I think about this currently as well with my books, right? Because people come to me, I look at manuscripts. So there can be things sometimes that I read that I'm like, I don't know, is that something that I want to endorse? So these are going to be questions that you come up with in your business that you are going to have to navigate, right? So in the case of Masterpiece Cakes, this person was strong when it came to his values and what he was willing and not willing to do. But then again, remembering what is the legal side of things as well. So in a business example, right, where can some of ethics fall into? Can fall into your pricing, right? Can you serve for the price that you're setting? Does the price that you're setting equate the value? Does it match the value or exceed? Because we always want to do either above and beyond, right? We don't want to do the bare minimum in our business for our businesses to be successful. We want to do well. We want to serve people well. So is your price, does it match the value or go exceedingly, right, of the value of what you're offering? Are there shared values? And I think all of this is going to come back to our values. Do we share, when we choose our team members, are we giving fair opportunity, but at the same time, are our team members, do they connect with the values that we hold? I've heard it said once, my husband and I, we went to a very well-known marriage ministry to get our certification for marriage mediations. And when we were there, this was a really interesting thing that came up, because being marriage coaches, right, especially in the Christian sphere, what does that look like? And so when we were there, one of the trainers brought up a really good point, and it was basically that you're not going to go to a steakhouse expecting to get served a vegan meal, right? So you're going to go where you're going to be served. And that's going to be really important for your business messaging. If the ethics behind your faith-based business, if your business is faith-based, you're going to have to put that in your messaging, right? To think about attracting your ideal client. And it also comes down to choosing your clients. Okay. So if ethics is something very strong for you, the morals that you carry in your business, then you want to be very clear on your messaging as well. So choosing the right clients, choosing the right team members, so you don't end up in a situation where now you're in, a legal issue. Okay. There's another theory here, and it's called value theory. Now, value theory is interesting because value theory functions on these pretty much these theoretical questions about value and goodness, right? Of all different varieties. So what value theory really does is it seeks to it asks how and why people value something. So what is the why do they do it, right? And how do they show that they value it? And this could be for a person, for an idea, for an object, it could be for any of those kind of things. So a good example is, when is salt good? So when we think about goodness, the actual product of salt, right? When is it good? Is it good if it's by itself, right? Or is it good when it's in a meal, when you use it in something? So value theory is really interesting, and it's something that you want to also think about for your business and for your life, is when am I valuing something? Do I only value it when it's producing for me, or do I always value it? Like, when am I valuing myself, what I have to offer, right? Thinking about value theory is going to help you to also know where to hone in on when it comes to certain products, when it comes to certain services. So knowing these things is going to be very, very important for moving forward. So do you value, the team members when they're only producing, or do you always value them? And so as Christians, we believe that we're going to value people regardless, right? Regardless of those things. So are there things that are important in your business? Yes. Are there things that are, that we need to look at, for example? Of course, but we need to understand that every life is valuable, every person is valuable, and so helping them to find where they're valuable, right? Again, when do they produce the best? When are they in their kind of their place that they're doing, what they need to do in the best way, is going to be helpful in helping that person to obtain or to live up to the fullness of their value, because sometimes people don't value themselves as well. So considering that would help, at least in the leadership aspect of things. So what I want you to think about and take some time to do maybe today is answer a couple questions. When it comes to your business or your life, what do you value the most? What is the most important to you? And if you can figure out what you value the most, that's going to help you also to hone in on what are your values, and then connecting with those who have like values. So it could be people, it could be your image as a business, it could be the people that you're going to bring onto your team. If you know what you value and what you want your business to stand for and what your business values, it's going to make a big difference in who you partner with, right? The messaging behind your business and the clients that you attract. So I don't believe in working with everybody, right? Not every coach or consultant or business or product is for everybody. And so that's also part of values, knowing, hey, you know what? I'm going to be honest here. I don't think that my service or my product is going to help you, right? In means of a sale. And so that's another important piece in doing kingdom business versus the way that the world does business. But you need to understand also, what is your line? Okay. Where do you draw the boundary line? And that's going to be huge. Will you help everyone? Because you can't, right? We're not Jesus. We can't rescue everyone out of we don't have the solution for every problem. But will you, knowing that you need to draw the line somewhere. So where do you draw the line, when it comes to your employees? What is acceptable and not acceptable? I know a very popular example, like Dave Ramsey. They have his organization has a very specific code of conduct. Disney is a secular one that has a very specific code of conduct. They know where their lines are drawn for how their employees have to conduct themselves. So that's important to think about. So what do you value? What are the lines that you want to draw, right? Does it have to do with image, your partners, your messaging, and then how all of this comes together to show what is ethical and what is not ethical within your business. So that was our Bible basics for today. Like I said, these are short little snippets, short little classes. If you are wanting to connect with us further to do some of the group coaching that we offer around this, going deeper, really pulling out how these concepts connect to your business, I would invite you to join our 747 Club. It is our premium group. that we connect with, and we do group coaching in there. So if you're interested in joining the 747 Club, let me know, and I could tell you a little more information about that to make sure that you would be a good fit. We do have an upcoming class about creating your signature masterclass. This is a paid event. It is $20, but if you want to know how to create your signature masterclass, where a lot of the times your framework will come out of that, I would definitely say connect. That is April 4th, coming up April 4th. We have lots of other events I will be posting shortly. We're just doing some finalization on some details for April, May, and June. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Lots of free classes around ads, how to launch your business in 90 days. We have so many things coming up. So please stay plugged in, stay connected. If you know somebody who would benefit from being part of our group, share this group. You know, we love to spread the love here in Network for the Kingdom. I love to be able to hear from you guys how this class and how this group is benefiting you. So connect. We are all about connecting. We love you guys, and we thank you so much for your support so far here in the network. And we pray that you have a blessed rest of your day or evening, whenever you're watching this, and take care. Bye, everyone.